Okay, class 50B, we are gonna, I'm gonna demonstrate for you the 0 degree blunt one length haircut. And so remember all the tips I gave you earlier, stand in front of your client. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and start that. My sections are off in 4, front to back, ear to ear, using the highest part of the ear. And I'm gonna comb it straight down, and I'm gonna remember stand directly in front of the section you're cutting. And this is no elevation, so do not lift this haircut. So you're standing in the front, you bring it straight down, you cut about 1 inch off. So remember, you comb straight down, transfer, and then you cut. Now, one thing, you do not cut past that second knuckle. So you cut and take out your thumb. So you comb, fingers are straight, same amount of tension, no elevation, transfer, cut not past the second knuckle, and then palm by taking out your thumb. So comb it straight down, comb, transfer, cut, and then palm. And then so it's center left, and now I'm going to go back to the right. Make sure you're standing in front of your section, your fingers are straight. So comb, transfer, cut, and then palm. Okay, so what I mean by palming your shears, I mean by not cutting past your second knuckle, is here, this second knuckle. For 2 reasons you don't cut past the second knuckle right here. One of them is because if you do, you could chance getting a blood spill at state board. If you get a blood spill at state board, it takes time and you have to do it exactly right. If you don't, they'll dock you. So, and the other reason why you don't cut past this second knuckle right here, and I mean second knuckle right here, it's in the video, and then let me show you closer on this is your second knuckle. So when you do your shears, you comb, and then when you cut, it's so hard to show you guys. I'm going to show you in don't cut past here. Okay. The other reason why you don't cut past your second knuckle is because after the second knuckle, the tension changes. So it's a little looser. So the tension stays the same between the first and second knuckle. So always cut between the first and second knuckle. That way you won't cut yourself, and that way you'll have an accurate haircut. Because once you cut past your second knuckle, your haircut may not be as accurate because the tension changes between your knuckle and the end of your finger here. So, okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my next section down, applying my shears, but taking out my thumb. That's a safety issue. That's an absolute. So I'm going to take out my next section. I'm going to take about an inch subsection. All the way across. Make your partings consistent and clean. All the way across. So make sure they're straight. The same thing. Standing in front of my section that I'm cutting, I'm going to stand back here, and I'm going to comb it straight down. Remember, no elevation. So, and then there's my guide. I'm showing you my guide. If you can't see your guide, you have too much hair. So all the hair below the guide you cut. So it's center, so I'm going to cut center. No elevation, just that little bit right there is hardly any, you guys can see. And I'm going to make sure I don't give it any elevation. Center. So I comb left, comb, transfer, cut between the first and second knuckle, and then palm. And then continue, comb with no elevation, transfer, cut, and then palm. Don't cut past your second knuckle. One more time, comb, same, no elevation, transfer, cut, and then palm. So center left, and then back to the right. Standing in front of the section you're cutting, comb, transfer, cut between the first and second knuckle, and then palm. Palm simply means taking out your thumb. So comb, transfer, cut, and then palm. So now I have my first 2 sections cut. So now I'm going to go continue and bring down my next subsection. My third subsection is going to be about 1 inch to 2 inch. And I could probably bring down the rest of it, but for the sake of my demonstration, to show you guys and to teach you guys, I'm gonna just Bring down the next section. Make sure you can see your guide. If you can't see your guide, that means you have too much hair. So you repart the hair. Okay. If for some reason you do get an extra piece, it really is okay. But we want to have our partings as clean and consistent as possible. Comb it straight down, stand in front of the section you're cutting, find your guidelines. There's hardly any hair because her hair is really fine and thin. So center, cut, not past your second knuckle, transfer, it's comb, sorry. Transfer, cut, and then palm. So it's comb, standing directly in front of the section you're cutting, transfer, cut, and then palm. Comb, transfer, make sure you can see your guideline, cut, and then palm, and then back to the right. Comb, make sure your fingers are straight across, no elevation. Comb, transfer, cut, palm. Comb, transfer, cut, palm. Comb, transfer, cut, and then palm. So I'm going to bring down my last subsection. Comb it all down. And once you guys get used to cutting hair, you guys will not use as much clips. Okay, so I'm combing it down. Start in the center, standing directly in front. No elevation, that means do not lift that hair. Don't lift that hair at all. So comb, transfer, cut, and then palm. Standing directly in front of the section you're cutting, comb, transfer, cut, and then palm. Comb. Make sure you keep your one foot in front of the other, whichever foot feels comfortable, and make sure your knees are slightly bent. And then center left back to the right. Make sure you use the same consistent parting all the way across. Make sure you use the same tension all the way across, and make sure you maintain an even amount of moisture. Center left back to the right. Make sure your fingers are straight. And so the whole back of my hair is cut. So now I'm going to take out the sides. I'm going to take about 1 inch on the sides. The sides are generally thinner, but so it looks like this. One side, and then I'm going to do the same to the other. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Make sure you got about 1 inch on both sides. And this is tricky, you guys, because when the students, when they cut hair and they bring the hair over to the side, it makes it too short. It's so bizarre. So I teach the students, see how I cut the sides here, and I cut the sides here. Okay, but what I do, you guys, is very important, is I bring that hair back. I bring it slightly back. The reason why, and now look at, when I say back, I don't exaggerate it. So let me show you from the side view what I mean by back. So there's that one, and remember I'm doing the video as well. So when I bring the hair back, I comb it down. See, and just, it's ever so slight. So it's down, and the reason for that, I'll show you in a minute. Make sure I got all my hair cut. Okay, and then just a little tiny bit. And the reason for that is because I noticed that when the students bring it over, let me turn her around so you guys can see this side. When the students bring the hair over to the side like this, and they cut it, it ends up way shorter. So I tell the students, look closely, it's not exaggerated, but you have to do the same to both sides. So you comb it slightly back, slightly down. So see how it's not very exaggerated? You don't see the ear or anything. You go straight. You do the same thing. And there's just a little bit right there on the sides, just a tiny bit, hardly anything, but it's because her hair is very fine. So when I get it up shorter, you'll be able to see. So remember what I said about cutting it and checking it. So before I move on, I want to make sure my guideline's even. Because my guideline's not even, my haircut's not even. So I'm going to use the video and to see if it's even. I'm going to stand here. And then here, and it's even. So now my sides are even. So I'm going to turn her to the side so you guys can see both in the video. Oh, it's a drape. I wanted to do a different color drape, but it won't stay, so. Make sure you guys all have your drapes, please, when you're cutting your doll head, because if we have to turn these into the state, our videos. Okay, I gotta finish doing the back, but my thing fell off, of course. Mostly it's important to do this at state board, but I want you guys to practice at school. If your cape falls off, to put it back on, because it's important that we maintain the drape, because that shows the state that we know that client protection is very important. So client protection means that your skin, so when I say it, that means that the cape never touches the skin. Okay, and so I'm going to pull this back down, and then I'm going to bring the rest of the sides down. Since I checked them, they're both even. Before you go on, you make sure you check them. Bring them down. I'm going to find my guide. Don't cut past your second knuckle. Remember, slightly back. So slightly back looks just like this. Okay, and remember, cut between the first and second knuckle. And then you do the same to the other side. So I'm moving her for the sake of the video, but when you're cutting an actual client or you're cutting at state board, do not move your tripod. You just stand directly behind it. Okay, and I'll give you plenty of examples. Okay, and then that's your 0 degree haircut. So then if you check her, she's even in the front. So that's just one length straight down haircut.